And now,
And then,
sales with
yeah,
soul.
yeah. So, yeah, you can't really, I guess, stop that entrepreneurial part of you. Mum and dad were entrepreneurs. They've always had their own businesses, and so I guess it's in me. And I miss that kind of building something for yourself. So, yeah, launched Sales with Soul about 4 weeks ago, formally. Working in a fractional capacity with agencies around growth, working as a bit of a coach for some as well. And then have built a couple of little bits of tech, and we're going to launch a little bit of software in a few weeks as well, which is super fun, but all based around helping agencies grow again in that sustainable way. A lot of people may be trying to get past founder-led sales, and how do they
Yep.
do that? How do we build a proper system and an engine in the business? It's not reliant on a personality or people. It's a proper pipeline.
Yep. Brilliant, mate. And I know we've had conversations over this, and it's a conversation that comes up time and time again with agency leaders I speak to. I'm going to call it, like, I guess, the uncomfortable truth, really. And I think this is the bit that a lot of agencies skip, and it really comes down to agencies not knowing when to walk away from a pitch, and agencies saying yes to briefs that they probably didn't know they're not going to win, but it's come through, so they almost feel um, obliged to pitch, and they don't do the proper qualification. They don't strip out the things that it's like this, sometimes like a blind optimism because we've been asked to pitch.
I think it's look,
Talk to
it's
me
a
about that, because I think that's the starting point for me in all of these things. What's the right thing to go for?
you know I've spoken to a lot of agencies in the last few weeks, and I grabbed all the call notes and ran them through Claude, looking for the themes. And yeah, qualification comes up a lot. But what's interesting, and what everybody, I'm sure watching or listening, the pressure is untold. What do you mean I'm going to turn away business? I've got P&L, I've got staff, I've got salaries, I've got a lease maybe. There's a lot of pressure.
Yep.
And also, an entrepreneur doesn't become an entrepreneur and found a business by saying no. They go, yes, yeah, yep, yep, yep. What do you need? When do you need it? Let's make it happen, right? You build it by doing. So it's a weird switch to try and pull, but and everybody has qualification in place, right? Everybody I speak to has got it in place, but you go, but I'm not, I either don't have enough leads, or I've not got enough of a win rate, or I've just not, I need more, I don't know. And a lot of this comes back to, well, how many more? Like, a lot of the time it comes, let's start with the maths. So I want to get an extra £500,000 worth of net new this year. Okay, cool. What's the average deal size? Let's just say it's 100 grand for easy math. Okay, cool. I need five. Right. What's my pitch win rate? That one, often, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just say it's half. All right, fine. Well, we need 10 good leads then to turn five into my £500,000. And then you can work your way back up your funnel and your pipeline to, like, how many marketing qualified leads do I need to create? And once you're in, because it's very hard, mate, to qualify something out and say no when there's not enough stood there, right? And I think, well, certainly the last few years at Rise, we're obviously big content machine, big engine of trying to drive demand and fame, with some fortune hopefully to follow. And we'd probably get 10 inbounds a week into the inbox. And about three or four would be good meet an ICP. Some of them would
Yeah.
be, I want to be a freelancer, I want to be a creator, can I get on the books? Some would be trash, and some would just be, look, you're too small, or it's not quite the right fit. And then of that 30 or 40%, you then start to go through. And because we were quite in demand, it forced me to build quite a rigorous, kind of set of things we would do to approach how you qualify. And I think qualification is different for every agency. I don't think I've tried to build a tool, but I don't really think it works. Like, and one of the big things for me was, well, have you written a brief? Like, is there, well, and have you written a brief, or has ChatGPT written your brief? That seems
Yeah.
to be a
Two
bit,
different things these days.
that does seem to be a bit of a theme. But, and then because that's a really big signal to me of commitment. That's serious, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes you go, oh, it's not competitive. It's ours to lose. That's a good thing. Sometimes I actually used to have that as a bit of a middle score on our scorecard, because I go, yeah, but I would rather it was competitive. I would rather there was a proper RFP written personally, because that means somewhere up the chain, someone has cut a check and said, yeah, cool, there's a budget for that. Let's go and get it. Because I think sometimes maybe that's what isn't happening, and then it's disguised as ghosting. Like, oh, they've just binned us off. I go, well, did they ever really have the budget? And then sometimes, even if it is written, or you can eke a brief out of them, maybe they'll go, oh, there's no budget. Well, you tell me, right? That's a classic one. Like, you tell me how big, or what should I do? I go, okay, well, we can do some of that. We can reverse engineer your pipe or your customer acquisition goals, right? And we can go backwards through that. But also, I would often ask on an early call or any, like, well, have you got a tenner or have you got 100 quid? Like,
Yeah.
help me scale. Like, and also, if you do a bit of research and you figure out how big the business is and what they're
You
turning
can
over,
work it
and then
out.
you go, well, 5 to 10% on marketing, and then I'm going to take 1% or a slight,
Yeah.
like, you can kind of reverse engineer it. But yeah, often, mate, I suppose that point is it comes back to the numbers.
Yeah, I think it always comes back to the numbers. There's something I'm going to pick you up on there with the ICP. I think the ICP is a really interesting part of this because I don't know how many people really do drill into what is your true ICP. I think a lot of the times when you speak to people and say, who's your ICP? And they'll go, Adidas, Red Bull, whatever. And I sometimes question, is that really your ICP or is that an aspirational client you'd like to get? If you looked at, if I took your data out of Synergist or Zero or something and looked and said, which are your clients that are constantly delivering good revenue at strong margins,
Hmm.
they're probably your ICP. And what other clients like that, maybe in a similar vertical or different verticals, would really be an ICP, not Red Bull or Adidas or these big ones that are actually aspirational. I think sometimes
Mm.
there's a bit of a conflict around that as well. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
got anything around that, like with your qualification, and because I think that's when you can often go, look, we're not going to win them because there'll be certain qualification criteria they'll have that we just won't meet as an agency.
yeah, yeah. I think the capabilities would be at the bottom of that list almost. Like, well, do we have the geographic footprint in order to serve that? Right. That is a tricky one, but and that's very difficult when you're trying to really level up as an agency. At some point, you may or may not hit a brief that goes, I need boots on the ground in Toronto, and you go, well, I can't hire 20 people
Yeah.
like, overnight, but okay, what's my network? Where are my partners? Free, like, and then that can form part of that. But I think that there's behavioral stuff. I think, does, so we would have, maybe you'd have a turnover, right, as a base. Okay, probably an ICP as well is primarily initially used for your, like, who do I go and try and get?
Yeah.
Because that's, again, another channel. What content should I be making? How, like, whether I'm doing outbound lead gen or not, but I need to be making some noise. So who should that noise appeal to? And if I just say an industry, that doesn't help me that much. It's still
Yeah.
quite broad. Well, that industry that are trying to fend off dupes, for example, or own brand named alternatives. Or I want to really appeal to minimum £10 million turnover, SEO director that wants to use digital PR to try and regain, like, AI overview visibility. Or I want to talk to a CMO that really wishes their biddable and non-biddable worked a bit better together. Okay, good. This is like their characteristics, not just
Yeah.
demographics. And they can be really, really useful in helping you figure out, right, what do we go for this? Do we not? Do we think we're going to be a good fit?
Yeah. I agree. And I think the pitch thing as well, I think it's just intrinsic in the industry because people are now running their own agencies, have come from a background where that's what you do. You just pitch, and that
Yeah.
feels the standard thing you do to actually break away from that and go, right, this is what we're going to go after. It fits our ICP. Yeah, it is a big thing, but I was speaking to one this week, and some of the big network agencies were saying how much money they actually lose
Oh, yeah.
pitching for stuff they know they're not going to win. And I
Well,
think
the
that is incredible.
if we open up the, win without pitching, Blair ends. If we open up that can of worms, we'll be here all day.
We
But
would be here all day.
look, it's an intrinsic problem that's existed in our industry since Mad Men and Madison Avenue, right? So that's like that, and I don't think that's going to ever go away. So again, I go, okay, and it's just like, oh my goodness, there's lots of challenges and budgets are being reduced. And I go, what year hasn't there been challenges and
Yeah.
budgets being reduced? So look, these are just sales challenges. These are growth challenges. And I think your ICP, and do they or do they not meet it, could almost push you down different qualification tracks, right? If they don't, okay, well, I'm going to qualify a little bit harder on this. Like, I've had that before where I go, they're a bit small. Like, I know they seem keen and I'd love to work with them. They're a wicked brand, but like we've made a load of decisions that we want to push up like average, order value or whatever it is. And I don't want to be busy fools. I don't want to tear my head of department away, who's bloody expensive, to work on a pitch. So actually, I'm not really convinced. And also from a business perspective, should they be spending this money? Let's qualify them really hard
Really
and let's
well.
figure this out. And do we want to be their sole agency, or is that a nightmare for us? And actually, we're better off in a particular vertical within the roster. Yes, networks spend a lot of money. The one they win, the client pays for the two they lost, right? That's kind of a bit of an age old. But there's a lot to be learned from that. I so loved my time at IPG, where like big global pitches, the level of craft and theatre that goes into in some ways ridiculous, like converting your reception into a Costa coffee, like you come in the morning, it's all red. It's like, blimey, okay. But there's little touch. I remember pitching to a big global fragrance brand, like a holding company that owns a lot of fragrance brands. And the head of new biz, who I was learning a lot from, came with the bags of all the fragrances. He was like, Jay, you're wearing this one, Carl, you're wearing this one, and it was like that level of finesse plus dressing the room with neat little books and all this sort of stuff before. I love all that. And I think I've done some really fun stuff. The hybrid world opens up a lot of new opportunities for this, like
Yeah.
creating private social channels that you invite the brand to, where you share little tips and stuff ahead so they get to know you a bit before the pitch. Like, there's loads of little fun things you can do.
But that's really interesting, because you've at that point there, you've gone from you've done your ISP, you've got them down. Yeah, we're going to go after this,
Mm,
and I think different agencies prepare differently for
mm,
a pitch, and I think personally, I think sometimes to start in the wrong place. But from your point of view, if you've decided, right, we're going to go after this prospect, we're going to go after this pitch, where should agencies start, Carl? How
mm.
would you go about running that pitch? I know a lot of people will go, let's get the deck right. For me, I'm
Yeah.
not sure that is the right place to start. But from your point of view, where would you start?
I think the business and the people. So
As
start
in the
wrap.
prospect, business, and the people.
Yeah, yeah. So wrap your head around what they do, because I think a lot of the time you'll win business when you show an empathetic level of understanding of that client's business. Do they make more money out of strawberries or apples? Do they want to expand into Spain, or are they actually focused on France? Do they want to gain more lifetime value, or are they actually trying to grab new customers off their competitors or whatever it is? And understand that generally the only way you find that out is, I mean, look, AI has democratized how we find that
Yeah.
out now, and I think that's amazing. And that's some of the tools we're going to launch are helping solve that. But ask the opportunity to ask daft questions, like not related to the media or the tech or whatever it is, I think is a really fun one. That would often be from like my role or a new business person's role, so that the craft teams can start to soak up, okay, I'm starting to understand beyond the channel, what do these guys do? And then when you look at that, you start to ask like, right, okay, Tom, Dick, Harry and Sally, how do I make you look like a legend? That's pretty much the job of an agency, is to look like, to make the CMO look like a hero in the boardroom, to make the marketing director get a promotion to become CMO. Like, that's
Yeah.
our job, really. And if we can make some great work and do some great cool activations along the way, then that's all the better. But yeah, I think that kind of getting to understand their business and getting to understand their motivations is the first place. And then, you need a skeleton deck. You need a bit of a flow of it. But that also comes back to some of the prep, like having multiple tracks that you might send someone down based on how they're qualified. So I might I might do a light, a medium, and a full fat pitch. And I'm going to have some rough structure to how I do those. They're probably going to get tailored each time. But then as you go through that process, we used to I designed like what's a reasonable time frame, right? Someone sends me a brief. We need to act quickly. We're an agency and we're hungry and we want stuff. But it needs to be reasonable, right? We're a busy agency. And if you say to me, I need a thing in a week, I go, okay, now you've just come down my qualification calculator a little bit. And I go, okay, so what I would say is, well, I can give you the light version, but I can't give you like ideas. I can't give you deep research because, come on, be reasonable. My boys and girls are busy
Yeah.
and they should be busy. And if I'm a good agency, that should be reflected
Yeah.
in the market. Or, cool, dude, look, 3 to 4 weeks is really reasonable. Right, within that time frame, I want 2 Q&A calls. And I want those, please. I'm not going to not do them. Don't just do the work and send it. That's the worst thing. I mean, how are you possibly going to sell in that way? Very commoditized, And then, yeah, and trying to then build towards that as like a project plan, and then get ops and finance bought into that project plan, so that when I go, or the team goes, hey, there's a full fat pitch happening. We're working backwards from this date. Please book it into Synergist. I need it in everybody's
Yeah.
time. So that again, the craft team, you're respecting their time, and you're the business and the P&L, and you're getting them in the room. They can feel comfortable in absorbing about this brand and their business, and figure out how to apply their skills to it. And then, I mean, look, this doesn't always happen, and it's very easy for me to talk about it, but the word rehearsal is a big one. And
I'm a big fan of rehearsal. So people used to use the word role play, and I hate that word. So we use the word rehearsal. And I think, if you think of like the best bands and stuff, they rehearse so that when they go out there, it just flows and it's natural.
oh, mate, look, it's difficult. It's not. That's why I say. So take those three tracks, right? Like small, medium, large. Large definitely should be some sort of run through. The other two, difficult, right? It's very hard. Like it's hard enough getting the time to put the effort into the thing. And also, as you're doing the thing, people start to wrap their heads around what's the story here and so on. And having good, clear roles and responsibilities. Right, my job is to tee it up and then shut up and then close it, right? But what's difficult, and I'm very guilty of this as well. Like everybody gets excited. You're in the room or you're on the call. Everyone's passionate about what they do. Just like it's very hard to shut up sometimes. But acknowledging that and knowing that you're going to overrun, right? So. Like we had a very, very big pitch for Red Bull a year or two ago, whatever it was. And, we got to Salzburg a couple of days early, rent a meeting room in the hotel, and just like, I'm the taskmaster with the stopwatch. Like, come on, Jay, you got to let's kill that. But it's very, very helpful. It's very therapeutic. I'll often, take the mickey out of my job is to come in here and tell you to delete half the slides, which is in some ways true. But also there's a role for an appendix, right? I've done pitches before where heavy programmatic stuff, where you're looking at the DMP and all the architecture, like hurts my brain. And I go, well, who's in the room? Now, if the technical buyer is in the room, yeah, cool, we need that slide up because he or she's going to look relaxed and happy, and they're going to lean in and they go, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then their CMO or whatever it is going to see that person nodding and go, okay, cool. So all they're looking for is their crew's approval. But if they're not in the room and it was, a less technical audience, put it in a book, put it in a leave bar, put it in the follow-up deck, put it in the appendix of the deck. So if it comes up, you can jump to it in your laptop. But it doesn't, the point of a presentation is to have a conversation and to tell a bit of a story. It's often easy to get caught up in my job of today is to get to the end of the deck. It's like, well, it's not really. It's actually it's there to build that rapport and convince them that you're the boys and the girls for the job.
Your job's actually to convince them that you're the right agency. And if you manage to do that in the first slide, happy days.
But a lot of the time you can do that by asking the right questions as well.
I'm really intrigued. I'm going to put you on the spot. So sorry, because I love the word daft, and you said asking daft questions. Give me an example, if you can think of one, Carl, of a daft question you've asked to get a bit of information that was away from the brief, to just really understand them. Because I think they're the nuggets that we have in the sales world. We call them happy ears, don't we? We're hearing what we want, and what you were describing there with a daft question, and where you've not got happy ears and you're being like intrigued, you're being curious. I'd love to, if you've got one. It'll just.
I think I do. I'll leave it to you as to whether it's daft enough, but I think that it's having the courage to take the time to ask questions that seem unrelated to the brief. Like it's like, look, I want to you prospect. The brand has taken all the time and energy to write this stuff. It's bloody exhausting. It's time out of doing the normal, and it's because they need help and they want to be able to do whatever it is with the marketing or with the tech. And there's a big group, private equity backed group called Travel Chapter, and they own lots and lots of different brands. So like Canine Cottages, Holiday Lodges, Co-UK, all this. It's great. It's this whole house of e-com, book holiday, staycation stuff. And you get the brief, and okay, right, we want to do loads of social stuff that shows off all these amazing properties. Okay, fine. That feels like let's go and talk about what makes good TikToks about hot tubs or whatever it is, or how many people are searching for hot tubs versus not. Like that's okay, that's fine. That's a good track. But for me, I was like, hang on, can you explain because I need to make you grow as a business. So presumably there's a relationship somewhere with the lodge owner or the holiday park owner. I was like,
Yeah.
so that for me is a daft question. All right, right. Talk to me about how does the business work? And what you start to find out of that is, oh, there's a guy that's going around the country that's having meetings to try and sign up holiday parks. Okay, what does he need out of this? Because
Yeah.
part of his budget's going into the, okay, well, he might need this data or that. And in that instance, the team gave him incredible data about there are a lot more searches for holiday lodge with hot tub. So when he's then going around and going, hey, have you thought about hot tubs, Jay, on your park? Oh, yeah, but they're a bit expensive. Well, there are 100x more
Yeah.
searches, so you'll probably get more customers. And so by asking, well, I don't, so, and then it's like, right, well, how much of our effort do you want, client, of our work to be on direct to consumer versus your B2B? And it's like, in that instance, it's probably an 80-20, right? But just giving that guy a few bits of ammo makes the whole
Yeah.
room light up. And that you get to that point by asking, well, how does this work? Like,
How does
yeah,
it actually
I get
work?
that the lodge looks nice and pretty and you want me to sell that on social media. That's okay. But how does the business work? And I
It's
think
that
that's,
curiosity, isn't it, of how they've got there. Cole,
yeah.
can you believe it's 5-2? That's mad. Right. I could talk to you all day because I love this stuff. Um, Thank you so much for your time today, mate. I've genuinely enjoyed it. I said I could just keep rabbiting on about this type of stuff. I think we've only like literally just scratched the surface, but I think some of the stuff you've brought out there about, really getting into the detail of the pitch, making sure who you're pitching for to start with is right and fitting what you want as a business, and appreciating that, yeah, there's costs to hit, there's salaries to pay and all of those, but you can waste a lot of money going after things that you're just not going to win. So I think really valuable stuff. We always ask our guests bit of advice. What's your one takeaway you'd give people today? And if you've got two, that's fine. But what's the one thing you go, look, if you're walking away from here today, do this. If you're going to do anything, do this. What would it be, sir?
I think it would be if your growth is all related to your P&L, right? And that's very different from the top all the way to the bottom. And I would encourage everybody, and this is based off all the conversations I've had since launching, which bit of that puzzle do you need to focus on first? Like,
Right.
is it a bottom line conversation or is it top? And by that, I mean, do you need more leads? Or do you think you're okay for leads, but you need more, you need to increase that win rate? And how are the two related? And start to work backwards from some of those numbers. That's the key. Like, understanding that data is key. What is your pitch win rate? You have to be able to answer a lot of these questions in order to make it work. Because a lot of the time people can get stuck in this trap of referrals and I'm having all these amazing conversations and there's all this incredible commercial appetite and energy. You need to harness it into a spreadsheet, a CRM, or whatever, or a Notion, or whatever it be. And so sit down and think about the P&L and think, well, where is that problem? And then how do I start to quantify that and then get to my point of, do you know what? I need 40 leads a month or whatever it is.
Whatever it
Or
is.
do you know what? No, we need to think about, we're not winning enough. Why? Is it? And then I come back to qualification and then I come back to. So I think
So sweat the numbers and
yeah,
reverse engineer where you need to be based on them.
that helps make sense of the madness. Yeah.